This is El Man. You're listening to Came From the Radio. I'm with director, filmmaker Bo Roberts. Now, he's created 17 short films. That's what I read. And he created a feature film, The Great Awakening, during the pandemic, which, full disclosure, I haven't seen because, as you probably know by now, I like to meet my guests. And then I see, oh, do I want to learn more? So we'll see if I want to learn more. No, I probably will see it. Life's been crazy. Now, my first question for Bo Roberts, I'm going right into an interesting question, I think. The entertainment industry can be dangerous. Now, there's physically risky moves on set. Countless comedians and directors I've worked with are psychopaths. I got my stories. What are some scary things that you've had to face as a model? He's an international model, actor, and filmmaker. Anything scary?
Yeah, so I would say one scary thing I faced, but I actually chose to face was I went from Indiana with friends and family, a complete support structure, down to Florida to be with a girl, and it was her and myself, and she still had friends and loved ones. But then when I got into modeling, I moved down to South Beach, Miami, and it was
Mhm.
just the two of us. And then we broke up whenever I moved to New York City, and it was just me. So this path that I acknowledged of kind of self-reliance, it really came full circle when I went to Fashion Week over in Europe to do, runway shenanigans
How old
there.
were you
And
then when you were runway? How old were you?
I was about to age out of modeling. I was about 23 to 24.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
So
But
old.
yeah, so I went there and went to Milan, and actually decided to stay for the full 3 months that my visa allowed me to do. So I'm in this foreign country. I
Mhm.
don't only speak the language, very basic, like who, what, when, where, why, and that was it. And somehow I was just bound and determined to make sense of how to function in a country that I'm very ignorant as to kind of customs, language, etc. So that would be it.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. Going to a country by yourself, that's it's pretty
Mhm.
scary. Yeah, I haven't done that by myself. I don't think I will. I don't think I will. No, no, no.
Mhm.
Actually, so we're gonna stick with the modeling theme now. I see you've been an underwear model, incredible shape. We saw your Instagram posted from your Instagram. Now, I did some modeling. Modeling definitely helped me get gigs when I was a full-time trainer. I hosted huge events at the DC National Mall that were purely hosting and nothing to do with modeling. And because of modeling, I landed my first role in a movie, which they shouldn't have picked me, but you know what? It did work out, and I did end up becoming a good actor. We're reshooting everything. So my question, away from me, how has modeling enriched your life and broadened your life in ways that wouldn't have happened if you weren't a model?
So good question. And I would definitely say modeling has enhanced my life by really exposing me to people that I hadn't really been exposed to before. Indiana, uh, it's a very conservative landscape when you are born and raised, and just kind of the overall idea of what life is. Everybody's wearing brown and black and maybe some shades of gray, but there's a very kind of a mentality to life. And all of a sudden, now I'm a print model signed with the top agency in South Beach, Miami. So I'm walking around uh, in a speedo, and you have all of the fashionistas that now I'm being exposed to, and that, and as well as gay culture. That was like I was very
Oh,
much
right.
immersed inside of it, to where the publication that really put me on the map, to where when my first cover came out, all of a sudden I went from being the guy that had 15 to 20 people on Facebook because I know who everybody is,
Right.
to hitting my 5,000 friend request thing on Facebook, and that happened within about 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
And the publication is LGBT based, and
Okay.
it was right from Indiana all the way into that culture, very much. So yeah, it was awesome.
My friend's husband, you kind of remind me of, he lived in Indiana, grew up with Jehovah's Witnesses, met her in Florida. Now they're still together. So she kind of like took him. It's like a similar, it reminds me of one of my friends. And if she's listening, Love you, Maheen. All right. So we're going to switch now to your coaching program, go back to the filmmaking. Your coaching program is called the Divine Man Self Mastery Coaching Program. To you, what is a divine man? And also, what would not be a divine man, according to you?
Um, uh, you might have different coach. I sadly don't know what you're referencing.
What?
That
What?
the divine man is not something I'm connected to.
Well, we're going to talk to your publicist. This is very strange. This is very, very strange because I was going to say, I was reading your bio and then somehow it just branched off in the middle and it went somewhere else. And I was like, wow, this guy really does a lot of things. Like, this is very freaking strange. Well, you know what? I got a lot else to talk about. So we're going to go back to directing. I was going to say this is very
Perfect.
weird. This has never happened to me before. This is very strange. Well, we'll have to find out who the heck put this in your bio list that sent this to me. Anyway, okay, we're gonna have fun editing this. All right, now, all right, here, Bo Roberts, he created a film during the pandemic. Yes, yes, we're not wrong on this one.
Yes, yes,
God.
that is
All
correct.
right. Now, The Great Awakening, right,
Mhm.
is your film that he created during the pandemic. And you said you did not put yourself as an actor and a model in this film. How come you didn't Tommy Wiseau this and direct it and act in it?
Yeah. So this was my, you know, uh, the Great Awakening. It was me, branching off and doing, um, what was it? My calling card. Let's call it that. This is my calling card to let people know that I very secretly and quietly I have been directing and making those 16 short films. But if you go on YouTube, you can only see a very small portion of them. So this was my chance to actually let people know, no, I am a director. I'm taking it seriously,
Mhm.
and I'm not using this as a vehicle to also push my name also in acting because yeah, it's like the more time I spend behind the camera, the more I enjoy it.
Mm.
And acting, it was beautiful in a lot of various ways to me, but actually creating the story and how I want that story to be told, that has my full attention. So I'm
Hmm.
using this project to let people know, uh, yeah, I've been hiding behind the camera a lot more than what people think. And now this is a project to let people know just what I'm capable of.
I think you just feel like getting fat for a couple years and you're just like, you know what? I can just hide behind the camera because I've thought that myself. You know what? I get fat for a few months. I don't want to model for a few months. All right. So you said in a different interview, because I did do a little research, believe it or not, that you wanted to sharpen your skills as a director. Now, how do you practice directing? Stupid question, kind of a joke, kind of not. Does your wife participate? Do you have to you just direct her around the house? You'd be like, sweetie, I'm directing, go to the kitchen, make me dinner. Is that part of your directing, sharpening skills routine?
uh, it's that's not, but the way that I do sharpen my skills as a director is from doing all of those short films.
Right.
And it was when I would go to acting school. Um, once we would be done, people were talking about going out to a bar and going to do this and going to do that. And I would always have the idea of, hey, I have a very basic camera and some lights. Why not just buy a six pack, come over to my place, and we can just ad lib a short film?
Mm-hmm.
So short film started off with that kind of nature and intention behind it. And it just grew into something that was a bit more professional. But yeah, so every short film that I had created, I walked into it with a very distinct homework assignment to where I've been studying using light to make it look midnight outside. Okay, now shoot a short film and actually put that into practice instead of just reading about it. So short films, that's how I would sharpen the tool.
Mm-hmm. Would you actually, for me, as someone that did model first, then acting, then hosting, then directing, and the filmmaking part, I find that modeling definitely taught me, to angle to the camera. Like, I'm very hyper aware of where the camera is, whereas a lot of people will show the side of their face, which is a problem. You have to cheat and quarter turn many times to show the front of your face. Do you find that the people that you work with that have modeled a bit or just a little bit more cognizant of how they appear in the frame, or no difference between actors and models?
Uh, you can tell how some people do have better body awareness than others. And for me, I very much appreciate when somebody has um, when they have a theatrical background or even like a stage dance background,
Mm-hmm.
just because that tells me, um, well, like if you have a theatrical background, your ability to read a script and be off book almost instantly is,
Right.
that's on point. But also,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, which angles make you look good and so on and so forth. Whereas if somebody is strictly only doing like TV and film acting and they just stand on the mark, if you don't give them the proper eye line, then they might not know how to make themselves look as complimentary as they could.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you're looking for an actor, so this question's for actors that want to be hired and maybe directors too, or just people interested. Do you look for actors that are very good with improv, or would you rather someone doesn't improv and they do what you say and read from the script and don't go off? Because some people will go off because they're narcissists. I mean, there's all types of reasons why people go off script and don't follow a script, or they follow it by the book, every single word. What do you
Right.
prefer?
For me, I prefer yeah, somebody that's very by the book. My movie it has a very specific message being told to it, and going through the writing process of it with my writer Joey, like the words matter. So to say this and then we jump to this scene and then this actor saying that line and then we jump back to this actor who all of a sudden does his own thing, it disrupts what I've spent months working with Joey to actually bring to life. With that being said, there are moments and rooms to where um yeah, like if you can improv, um I'm okay with that. But then if it's a very stringent time that you have to be completely verbatim, that's when I'll tell them, hey, no, this has to be, what's on the script is what has to be said right here.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I would say about 80% I want it to be by the book, and 20%, sometimes like if you're in character and feeling it, go for it. If it works, uh, I'm totally down to run with it. If not, then we can make adjustments.
Okay. Related question. I find that directors, including myself, are complete control freaks. Do you think you are a control freak?
As far as being a control freak, yes and no.
Mhm.
Going back to it, I especially when it's a project that I've also created the entire story of what is being told. I know exactly how it needs to happen in my head.
Mhm.
So to have somebody else come in with their own input, and it's like, oh, I've read the script for like 2.5 weeks. I
Right.
think we should do this with it. I'm like, okay, so the last 8 months, I've
Hmm.
been doing deep dives and like for instance, the when you watch the movie, you have like a pastor in it, and he says a couple prayers. Those prayers, like I've actually gone in to the Bible and found applicable prayers that
Mm-hmm.
what was happening in the scene, what's happening in the movie, is very representative of this prayer that I found in the Bible that the pastor is now going to say. So
Okay.
because of that, there is a very there's kind of a deep meaning of the story that I'm trying to tell. So
Hmm.
because of that, it's not me being a control freak. It's me trying to keep the story that's
Right.
taken 8 months to stitch together. But with that being said, a lot of the short films I have done, my intention is to again work on lighting or get this specific camera transition. And a lot of times it's 100% ad lib what they say because I
Mm,
don't care on that. But
mm,
uh
mm, hmm.
but yeah.
Yeah, you definitely, I think you have to balance the control freak and you have to be a little bit, because if you're so go with the flow, the movie's going to end up somewhere that's not intentional.
Mm.
All right, I think I have two questions for you. So, As it looks like we were both probably for a decade or two minimum both involved in entertainment industry, and I've personally seen so many themes come and go. Some I hate, some I love. I can't stand the twerking and the ratchet themes, which are now, it seems like things are like hyper promiscuous. I just feel like there's like a lack of respect shown in a lot of ways in media that maybe I didn't see as a young kid. But again, I also grew up with Calvin Klein ads where it was like heroin chic. So there was always some type of disrespect in the media. But my question is, are there any themes that you would like to focus on creating? Because you are creating a world for other people and you are perpetuating uh different realities. You're creating more for the public. So are there any things that you want to see more on camera in your work, and other things that you just don't want to create more of? You think the world has enough of it disgusting?
Yeah. So as far as content I'm wanting to put on camera, as far as if somebody's twerking or doing something vulgar on camera, to me, I use absolutely everything as a tool. There is that saying that if somebody is being vulgar and cussing, oftentimes it's because they can't think of another way to actually articulate what they want to say to express themselves. So they resort to uh, vulgarities and swearing and whatnot. So with that being said, like I'm not opposed to it because maybe a character, requires this type of edge to them for whatever reason to push the story along. But as far as kind of the subject matter of what I'm wanting to create, um, as it sits currently, I'm very much into, what is consciousness and what's the kind of what's the point of it all. So
Mhm.
my scripts delve into dealing with death and, kind of a supernatural way to something very dropped in and realistic. But yeah, it's just kind of those more heavy subject matters for the time being.
I'm interested. Yeah, why existentialism? Why are we here? Why do I have these notes for you? Why do I have a red light? Why do I have a wig on? Why? So my final question for you, we kept you here long enough. Very, very topical, shallow question for someone who wants to make deep films. Picking from any existing movie or music video or any piece of art, what are three roles that you would like to have done? I'll go first. I like Gia, Angelina Jolie, Gia and Gia. I like that crazy character. And I love Sharon Stone in Casino Basic Instinct. I think I do a good job at it. It looks like so much fun. So for you, what would be your roles?
Roles, for acting,
Yeah,
you mean?
yeah, for acting.
Roles for acting, to me, which I just found out that they're doing a remake of it, but Roadhouse. Uh,
Okay.
just because Patrick Swayze had, it in the era of like Rambo and Predator and all of these super buff guys and stuff like that. All of a sudden, you had this kind of floppy hair, very handsome, fighter, but
Hmm.
that's very soft spoken, and he's much more of a lover than a fighter. And to me, that was something that, to me, kind of gave some nice contrast to what was typically on screen from the macho man that's having to kill 80 people with a machine gun as
Yeah.
sweat drips down his bulging bicep. So yeah,
That.
yeah, that'd probably be the one. But as far as naming two more, that's not really something I've ever really thought of
Oh,
before.
okay.
Yeah.
Trying to
So
think for you. Yeah, I could see
well,
you as Patrick Swayze, like in Ghost.
mhm.
I could see that for you. Yeah, so I'm gonna make a new Ghost. You could stay tuned. And this guy won't be acting because he wants to be a big director. So he's not gonna have time to act in my films. But no, we're just joking. So final thoughts are, any thoughts for It Came From the Radio listeners? Number one, and two, where can they find you on social media?
As far as a kind of a final thought, yeah.
Mhm.
So my movie, The Great Awakening, it just came out, and you can watch it on TV. But also today, I just found out that Amazon Prime picked it up. So
Nice.
so that's
Congrats.
thank you. So that's a second major platform to where
Mhm.
most people have that. So yeah, and with that being said, to bleed into my social media channels, um, I would love for people to watch it, but then after that, send me a message and tell me if you liked it, if you didn't, and why. You know, that's a big thing with me. Like, what did you like about
Mhm.
it? Because it has a very distinct storyline, um, that's based around the emotion of uncertainty. So
Mhm.
it's supposed to feel, you're supposed to feel uncertain and kind of, like as you watch it, it's going to have an interesting flow about why things are happening. At, but also the ending, to me, like it's a very solid ending in the sense of, you know, what's really happening. I actually explain it, but it's very subtle as a way to leave room for interpretation. So in case if somebody watches it and thinks this happened, I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, that's an interesting perspective, because that's a very big commonality, you know, in a lot of rooms that I discuss the film on is, you know, it's just that all of us are human trying to make sense of what reality is. So all
Mhm.
of us have various perceptions on what that is. So watching my movie, you may think this person may think that, and you know, your parents or cousin could think something totally different. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm very eager to hear what people have to think of it. And
Yeah.
with that being said, um, whether it be Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram, which I'm on much more frequently, but just type in Mr. Bo Roberts, MRBOR, and then it should autofill the rest.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And that's why we
Mhm.
have multiple jurors, multiple judges on the Supreme Court. We're going to have all different types of opinions. And I just did a podcast. I had about 15 people review. I would say 13 was terrible and 3 loved it. So the world is all over the place. Definitely check out his film. I'm going to check it out. Write a review. Tell him what needs work. Tell him what's awesome. Tell him whatever, because we're all entitled to our opinion, and take everyone's opinion with a grain of salt, because we're all just humans, just hopefully trying to be better people. So thank you for listening to It Came From the Radio, and back to you, Mark, in the studio.